Hello, friends. God, I can't believe it's Sunday again already. These days go by so fast. Welcome, everyone. Glad to have you again. Gonna go ahead and get behind my subject for today. We are working on my coffee table. I am painting it in place in my living room. So, gonna go ahead and get behind that while you guys come on in. Super excited about today. So I'm really far away from my camera. I won't be able to see who is tuned in, but I'm so glad to have you. Thank you for tuning in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Bleed Through. This is episode number 4. Wow, it's hard to believe I've been doing this for a whole month now. So glad to have you. I can see that you are tuning in, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Hasfa. I am the owner of Preston Every Design down in Houston, Texas. Super excited about today's project because we are working on my coffee table, painting it in place, you guys. I have kicked my husband and my son to the master bedroom, so they are chilling, you guys. They're having a good time. They're eating in the bedroom. So today we're working on this table. Let me show you. It's got glass. It's beautiful. I thrifted this for $10, you guys. $10. It has glass. I'm going to go ahead and take it out. And this is going to be a really easy paint job. It's going to get a coat of crinoline, DIY paint. I actually was thinking of doing Monet's Garden with black wax, but I do want to mirror my two hutches here, and I painted them in crinoline. So I'm going to do the same with this. Today's story is, it's not too deep, but it's really important and needed to be told. So let me put this down, and then I'll tell you about today's story. This glass is heavy. I should probably put it under here. All right, so I have cleaned this before I got started, but I'm gonna go ahead and spray it a little bit more, just because Preston has been playing on it today. All right, so last week we talked about my very first full day in America, where I discovered that my new family had all the food that my heart could desire, right? And so we talked about the difference between being in survival mode and switching to finally living. For me, it was going from no longer needing to fend for my basic instincts, my basic needs of survival, food being one of them. And so, but for you guys, it could be a lot of things. So if you missed last week's episode, please go ahead and check it out. It is still up. Also, if you know anyone that would enjoy spending this time together with us, please go ahead and sprinkle this message out. I believe that someone could be encouraged, be uplifted. And if you know anyone who could use this message, go ahead and sprinkle this out. I would really appreciate it. All right, so day 2 in America. And while I'm telling you that, I'm going to go ahead and get my crinoline out, and I'm going to give this a quick paint job. My goal is to finish this in one sitting so that I can move on to other projects, because I've got a long week ahead of me. All right, so day 2. So that first day, the day before, my mom unpacked my suitcase. And as she was unpacking to put things into my new dresser, she found that there wasn't really much to be put away. And what was available was kind of heartbreaking, I guess you could say, right? Because from where I came from, I mean, clothing just wasn't a priority. You wore clothes just so you wouldn't be naked, but you didn't wear clothes because they looked good or because it was a fashion trend. You wore clothes just so you'd be clothed. So sometimes you couldn't afford your own clothes, so you would wear hand-me-downs. And hand-me-downs were a very common thing. And there was no such thing as size-appropriate clothing. You just wear clothes to cover your body. So all the clothes that I had were passed down to me from other people that I was living with, specifically my guardian, who was a grown woman, and I'm 11. And so she had packed some clothing for me to bring with me just so that I wouldn't be without. And so there were clothes that belonged to a grown woman. Even the clothes that came in, they were like 3 to 4 sizes too big for me. And you could tell that, yeah, I didn't have much to bring. So as she's putting away my clothing into my dresser, I'm guessing that her heart, is breaking, and she hates that I don't have clothes that are appropriate for a little girl to wear. So she decides that she is going to take me shopping. And she and my father and myself, we head over to go shopping. Now, this is my first time going into a place with so many nice things. Because back home, we had a flea market. It was a really big, popular flea market. It's called Owino Market. And you don't want to go there by yourself, especially if you're a white person. You become a target. It's what we call Muzungu. And Muzungu is the native language or the native word for a rich white person, right? And so if you went to visit Uganda, I don't know if it's still the case now, but back then, if you went to visit Uganda and you were Muzungu, that's the place you didn't go. And only the locals went because they knew where all the bad things happened. And I mean, I even had a few of my things stolen from me when I went to that market. But anyway, it was one place that you can afford stuff because it's flea market. It's stuff that's handed down. It's old and used, and you could get it for, a few shillings. So that's where we shopped. And so now we go to this American store, and the store was called Stein Mart. Who knows about Stein Mart? Do you guys have a Stein Mart where you are? Well, so we went into a Stein Mart, and everything was so neat and everything was so clean, and there were racks and racks of clothing everywhere. There were shoes from floor to the ceiling. There were walls full of accessories, and I had never even had earrings, and so much to see. And there were so many beautiful things in this one place called Stein Mart. And that's where my new mommy took me to shop for my new clothing. And I remember just picking stuff. I want this, I want that, I want this. And she would let me, you guys. She was just letting me pick things that I wanted. And some of it was not appropriate, so she would put it back. And she would tell me, you can't wear those. And then we got to the shoes. And one day I'll tell you the stories about shoes. But for the most part, I was always barefoot most of my life. Unless I was going somewhere where shoes were absolutely required. I spent most of my childhood barefoot. So here I am. And I'm seeing all these shoes, and I want all the high heels. And I remember her saying to me, no, baby, while you're living with me, you're going to have to dress like a child. Those shoes are too grown up. And I wanted the high heels, right? We call them kakondo. I wanted those high heels, and she wouldn't let me have them. And now, of course, I was going to have to go to school. So we're buying clothes that I'm going to need for school. And I'm picking clothes that are like for after 5 events, and she's putting them back. But long story short, I had the time of my life in Stein Mart. I had never seen so many beautiful things all in one place, and I had never had a choice. No one had ever taken me anywhere and said, you can pick, right? So you get whatever you get. But here I am, my new mom is telling me, which one do you like? Do you want this color? And some of the things we were getting in multiples, and oh my goodness, it was amazing. It was exciting. It was so much fun. And I am thinking, man, I truly have died and gone to America. And at this point, America's looking pretty good, much better than heaven, if you ask me. I'm like, I am in America. And so then the time comes to go, check out. And at the checkout counter, I see her hand over a card. And they do something to her card. They run it through a machine. And then we walk out with all of this clothing. I'm going to move this closer to you guys because I want to see who's there. Anyway, so they run, of course they were scanning the card, but I didn't know that that's what they were doing. So they run this little card, and then we leave the store. So I'm thinking we got all of this stuff for free. I'm like, what? No way. You get free stuff in America. You get free clothing. So immediately I knew, okay, when we come back, I know exactly what I'm going to get, especially if it's free. And so we get home, and I try on all my new things, and we hang them up. And even the clothes I'm wearing right now, I remember it was a pair of jeans that was so big that it was swallowing me. So, we take them off, and then she tells me to put on something new, one of the items that we have purchased. And then I'm like really shocked because she's telling me to wear nice clothes, but we're not going anywhere. Because back home, you only wear nice clothes to go somewhere, right? Otherwise, you're just wearing clothes to do chores, and they're not nice clothes. But she's telling me to put on my nice clothes and then go outside and play. And so I had a hard time playing because I didn't want to mess up my nice clothing. But then, as time went by, I adjusted, and I learned that, I was now in a new life. My life had changed, and now the clothing that I used to wear back home wasn't going to work here, and it was time to adjust to my new wardrobe. And so that brings us to today's message, you guys. So last week we talked about going from survival to living, right? We have now entered a new phase of life, and that is living. We are now living. We are no longer living in the past where everything was about survival. We are now living our lives. And friends, I have come to tell you today that if you are going to live in this new life, you are going to have to leave your old clothing behind. You are going to have to put on new clothing. You're going to have to dress for your new life. Because let me tell you this, friends, there are things in that past life that was all about survival, that was all about fight or flight, that you cannot bring into your new life because it cannot carry you into your new life. Just like I couldn't wear those rags that I had back home, those clothes with the holes back here, I couldn't do that, right? It's the same way that we are in life. When we have transformed our lives, there are certain things that we are going to need to leave behind. So I hope that you've got a pen because I wrote down some things that I had to leave behind that I would like to share. And maybe you could also try leaving these things behind because we are in a new life and things have got to change and we have got to dress for our new life. You've got to dress for the new life, right? So number one thing you are going to have to leave in your past if you are going to thrive in this new life is a negative attitude. Friends, I cannot stress how important your attitude is. All things being equal, attitude is a difference maker. Your attitude is your greatest asset or your biggest liability. So you are going to have to leave your negative attitude behind. Get rid of the negative thinking. Get rid of the doubt. Get rid of the self-deprecation. Get rid of the naysaying. Stop doubting yourself. Start thinking positively. Change your attitude. And if you are one of those people who's a negative Nancy, who is a dream killer, who is a naysayer, you guys remember the movie Mean Girls? I have come to tell you, you can't sit with us. You cannot sit with us. If you are going to be a dream killer, we have to leave you behind. So friends, you have got to understand if you have a negative attitude about yourself and life, you have got to leave it behind because get what, friend? It cannot carry you into your new life. It is going to weigh you down. It is going to keep taking you back. It's going to keep you doubting yourself. It's going to keep telling you you cannot do it, and that's not true. I'm here to tell you that you can. So if you have made a choice to go from surviving to living, get rid of that negative attitude and watch your life thrive. Number two. Now, I'm not here to preach. We're just sharing. Number two, you have got to get rid of your bad health habits, specifically pertaining to food. Now, my degree is in nutrition and food science, and even still, I don't always do what's right when it comes to food. But friends, get this. Studies have shown that 70% of our immunity lies in our digestive tract. 70% of our immunity, the things that keep us healthy, the things that fight off illness, live in our digestive tract. So what we eat really matters. How we feed ourselves really matters. If you are going to live for this new life, you cannot keep putting garbage into your body. You have got to change those negative habits, right? You've got to do a better job of feeding yourself, because food is fuel and it's also medicine, right? Food is medicine. So you've got some healing to do. You lived in a constant state of stress, fear, anxiety, depression, and we're leaving all those things behind. By the grace of God, we are new creatures, right? We are new creations in Christ, and we're leaving all those things behind. And we have a new body. We are a new creation. We have a new mindset. And so now we have got to feed this new body accordingly. We have got to treat this new vessel accordingly. You've got to love yourself. And one way you can truly love yourself is to feed yourself things that are going to nourish you. Just like you need spiritual nourishment, you need mental nourishment, and you need physical nourishment. How you feed yourself is so important. So in this new life, the same way that when I left my old life back in Uganda and I had one meal a day and I was always hungry and malnourished and undernourished, I was now thrown into this new world where there was an abundance and I could eat well and I could get a balanced diet, right? It's the same thing that happens with us. When we go into a new life, we've got to change. So let's get rid of the negative attitude. Let's get rid of the bad eating habits. It's so important. If you change your diet, you will feel good. When you feel good, you do good. So, number 3. Ooh, someone is going to be mad at us, you guys, for talking about this one. Number 3, you're going to have to get rid of some people. Yes, I said it. You're going to have to get rid of some people, specifically parasites. Do you know we have parasites in our lives? And I'm not talking about the ones under the microscope, the ones in your gut, not those parasites. I'm talking about people. We have people in our lives that are parasites. So it is time to examine our relationships and find out who is the parasite, because we can no longer have parasitic relationships if we're going to thrive in this new life. We have got to get rid of those relationships that only take from us. Because if you're in a relationship that only takes from you, eventually you are going to run out, and when you empty out, there's nothing left to give and you are no good. So, now I'm not talking about romantic relationships. I hope we understand that, right? Because it's not just about the romantic relationships. It's all the relationships in our lives. If that relationship is not a symbiotic relationship, meaning that you both get as much as you take, then that's a parasitic relationship. If you're around people who only make you feel down, who only make you feel doubtful about yourself, who only tell you you can't, who only kill your dreams, who only tell you it's impossible, who are only taking from you, they never give, they take all your time, but when you need them, they're nowhere to be found. You always listen to them, but when you have something to say, they're not there. You always do for them, but when you need something done, they're not there. Those people are only taking from you. And those are parasites in our lives. And the problem with parasites is that unless they are treated, they will continue to deplete. When I was pregnant, I really understood the concept of a parasite, and I hate to call my baby a parasite, but when I was pregnant, my fetus, my son, really took a lot from me, that I was so sick. I was sick for 90% of my pregnancy. I was sick. And what happened is that he was taking so much from me that there was nothing left for me. I was on IV during my pregnancy because I was constantly dehydrated. I was constantly sick. I felt so horrible when I was pregnant. But, lucky for me, it was a temporary situation. And of course, there was a blessing at the end. But I just can imagine if we were in a relationship like that constantly draws from us, people who constantly empty us out and don't fill us back up. Gosh, that's got to be hard. That's got to be difficult. And the worst part is that it can sometimes be people who are supposed to be there for you, like family, loved ones. Sometimes it's really difficult. But friend, understand that you are in a new life now. And you want to thrive in this new life. And you cannot bring those old parasitic relationships into your new life. So let it go. So get rid of the negative attitude, feed yourself and fuel yourself, and get rid of the parasites. Number 4, you have got to leave behind negative financial behaviors. So I read not long ago that the number 1 reason people lose sleep is because of financial issues. So our financial health is so important, and I'm not here to talk about money, but studies show that when we have bad financial behaviors, they have consequences that take havoc on our health. And so it is important for us to address those bad financial behaviors if we are going to thrive in our new life. It is time to really dig deep and examine. And if you don't have any of those financial behaviors and you have great financial health, then kudos to you, and that's great. And that's the goal for all of us. And sometimes I do understand that we have bad financial health to no fault of our own. But if there are areas in your financial health that you can fix, then do so. Take off those negative spending habits, those negative mismanagement habits, and put on responsible financial planning, responsible financial management, because you will sleep better. The number 1 reason people lose sleep is due to financial health. When you lose sleep, you lose rest. When you lose rest, you lose your ability to function. And we're in this new life where we are talking about thriving. We're no longer hanging on. We're not in fight or flight. We're not anxious. We are talking about thriving. So we've got to make a choice. There's a choice to make. And so I encourage you to take off those negative spending habits and put on financial responsibility. Do what you need to do. You know, me and my husband, we had to do the same thing. We had to go to Financial Peace University by David Ramsey. By the way, I only tell you things that I do myself. So please understand, I'm not here to preach to you. We are here to make each other shine. We're here to light each other's lights, like Dion Wood says, right? So I had to do that. And you know, coming from my background, not seeing money, I really had to learn the value of money and learn how money is a tool. Because where I come from, you don't see money, especially as a kid. We just don't. And then I come to America and everyone's giving me money and they're just throwing cash at me for Christmas, because I came in November, right before the Christmas holiday, right? And everyone's just throwing money at me. And at a very early age, you could tell that I did not have a grasp of responsible financial management. It's something I have struggled with in my life, and it's something I've had to work hard at, and it's something that I'm constantly working on growing. So if we are going to thrive in our new life, we've got to address our financial habits so that we can get rid of the stresses and the headaches that come with it. All right, number 5. And this is the last one, and I'll let you go because I'm almost done with this thing. Let me turn it around so I can get to the other side. I'm going to do this foot here. Number 5, you've got to stop being stingy. Stop it. Stop being stingy. I cannot stand stinginess, right? If you are going to thrive in your new life, understand that to whom much is given, much is expected. The more you give, the more you get. We just talked about being parasites and not letting people be parasites in your life, right? We are looking for symbiotic relationships, and so you have got to give. If you want to thrive in this new life, understand that there is value in giving. You know, Mahatma Kalamachand Gandhi, that's his full name, by the way. I take pride that I know his middle name. Anyway, he says that the fragrance remains on the hand that gives the rose. And studies have shown that giving is for the good feeling that the giver gets more than the good of the gift to the receiver. So giving is so important because not only is it necessary, but because of the return that we get from giving. So, and this has nothing to do with money. Generosity has nothing to do with money. How much you're able to give can be due to how much you have, but your willingness to give has nothing to do with the size of your bank account. You can be generous with your time. You can be generous with your resources, with your knowledge, with your information. You have got to not be stingy. You're not going to thrive, because you have to understand that you are not going to thrive in this new life alone. The same way that my new mom took me in and raised me as her own child, not once in my whole life, and I'm 34 now, I'm going to be 35 very soon, and I feel it. Not once have I ever felt like a stepchild. To this day, that woman gives and gives and gives and gives to me, right? And one of the reasons that I am able to thrive with my new life is because of her generosity. And so I understand that. I know that. And to whom much is given, much is expected. If you expect to get much out of this life, understand that you've got to give. You have got to give. And like I said, it's not just money, but even your knowledge. Do you have knowledge that you can share with others? Right? I'm here because I have always had an interest in personal development. I've always had an interest in my personal growth. I've always taken interest in my personal growth. And I've gotten to the point now where I'm comfortable enough to know when I need to re-examine my life, when I need to take control, when I need to take action. And so when Dion asked me if I would do a live, it was shortly after I'd come back from Creative Con, and Dion Wood was talking about paying it forward. So how do I pay it forward? And immediately I knew what was one area of giftedness for me. And that was encouraging others. And I want to encourage others. I want to encourage you. I want you to be encouraged. And so I'm not going to sit on that. And so I'm going to give, and I'm going to give. And guess what, guys? Another way that you can be generous is by letting your light shine. Last week, I told you a quote from Marianne Williamson from the poem called Our Deepest Fear. It says that as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. So one way that you can be generous is shining. Let your light shine so that other people can see it. And as you shine bright, everyone around you shines bright, and we all shine brighter together. And before you know it, we're going to light this whole thing on fire. This whole place is about to be lit. Do you understand what I'm saying? I hope you hear me. And I get so excited to come here and talk to you guys. Of course I'm nervous because, this is new for me, and I'm really terrible at multitasking. I feel like, where am I going with this? I have no idea. But I hope that you understand why I'm here. I'm here because I know there's something greater that I can offer besides just painting. And I cannot sit on that. My conscience won't let me sit on that. So I'm going to keep showing up as long as you guys will have me. And together we are going to shine bright. We are going to light each other's lights. We're going to be iron, and we're going to sharpen iron. Iron sharpens iron. We're going to sharpen each other, and we are going to do it one furniture piece at a time. So that is all I have for you today, guys. I'm going to finish this table up. I did finish that jewelry box last week. It's in my room. It's looking gorgeous. And I'm going to finish this table up as well. Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with me. My name is Hasfat. This is Bleed Through, Stories from Inside Out, where we talk about ways to overcome adversity through creativity. So I will be back next Sunday. Hopefully this table will be done by then because it's too big, so I'm struggling getting all of it in the view, but I will finish it up and post a picture. That's all I have for you today, friends. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good Sunday, and I will see you next time. Bye, friends.